Welcome to Real Life Reviews, and in this video we're going to take a quick look at the K-Edge Garmin TT mount. K-Edge, K stands for Kristin, as in Kristin Armstrong, the two-time Olympic gold medalist in the individual time trial. Kristin started the company with a bit of innovation, and you'll be aware of their chain catchers, which was what he set the company up building first of all. This is their latest little innovation. Now, before I continue, I would seriously like to apologise for the brightness of this shirt. It would appear that my wardrobe, with anything bike, triathlon, swim related, is pretty dark, and I've got to go to a more running orientated high vis to get some contrast so that you can see the shape of what's quite a small piece of kit against my dull background. So once again, many apologies for this shirt. Like other TT mounts out there, the K-Edge fits the standard 22.2mm TT bars, obviously narrower than your handlebar mount. Now, from a purely practical perspective, what's different between the K-Edge and any number of other ones that are out there? This happens to be a zip. Well, the first practical consideration is, and you might be able to see it, the K-Edge fits on the bar and has a low seating mount. The effect being, and we'll show you this on the bike in a moment, that the Garmin itself sits between the TT bars, whereas what else is on the market at the moment, pretty much as far as I'm aware, everything else on the market sits on the bar and the Garmin sits raised. So to fit the Garmin to the normal TT bar mount that's out there, as you would expect, you fit the Garmin in, quarter turn, and it's on the mount. Absolutely no problem. It's worked well for many people for many years. The K-Edge though has a quarter turn element built into the base. So what you do is you fit your Garmin in facing the correct direction and then rotate to lock the Garmin in place. Fundamentally, that is the basic difference between these two mounts. So if we look at mounting the K-Edge, the first thing that I always advocate doing is I've put just one layer of insulating tape, electrical tape, around the bar to protect the bar from scratches, and it just gives that extra little bit of cushion for the grip of the mount to take on the bar, keeps it in place. Now, the bolts on this are underneath, which can make it quite awkward, and they're 2.5mm. So my recommendation is we're going to fit this by making sure we've got it the right way round. We're then going to rotate it, and we're going to put it on loosely upside down, carefully rotate it, and then tighten up from underneath. And the great thing about using tape on the bar is that the mounting point here now will actually hold itself in place quite comfortably. You won't be able to push against it, but it means you can align up and get your bolts in the right position. Now it's simply a case of carefully putting the mount on, taking each bolt one at a time, and just getting them enough to get the first bite. Once they've got the first bite, we can then carefully rotate the mount round into position, and then we need to get our torque wrench and tighten up from underneath. Now, using a torque wrench at this stage is really quite important. 1.5 Newton meters is the recommended for this, and that's got as much about the bolts and the actual mount and stripping and what you do to that as it has for the actual bars. Your bars can probably take 5 Newton meters. However, 1.5 for the mount system here. Whilst we're on the mount system, we've already mentioned the bolts underneath that mount it are 2.5mm. The bolts inside, so the mount itself is removable, are 2mm. They're slightly smaller, so we've got two different size bolts, and the torque fitting for these is 1 Newton meter. So 1.5 and 1. When it comes to fitting now, the Garmin simply fits in place, hold it firmly, quarter turn, and there it is. You will notice, and if you do it not mounted onto the bike, that there's a little, it will end up like that sometimes, and the whole mount moves to straighten up. But what you've got is a really, really neat solution in between the TT bars, and from memory, I believe, depends on your size of Garmin, you need 58mm or 62mm as your minimum width to fit them in. Is there a slight downside? Well, here my on-off button is on the side. Now with the shape of these bars, that is absolutely fine. With a smaller Garmin mounted to the back, you may well find what you've got to do is turn the Garmin on and then mount it. To me, that's not a big disadvantage at all and isn't a deal breaker whatsoever. Right, let's get back to the differences between the K-Edge and a more normal TT mount. Well, the first one you'll notice the minute you pick them up and handle them is plastic, metal. The plastic one, we've weighed that, and on our delicate scales comes out at 15 grams. That's pretty light, and it does its job really well. Don't get us wrong. The K-Edge, this is CNC machined alloy. It's 6061 aluminium alloy. Now, that arguably is the most common of the aluminium alloys, and it uses magnesium and silicon as its main alloying agents. Gosh, potential tongue twister there. K-Edge themselves don't list a weight on their website. Arguably, weight isn't the selling factor of this, it's the quality of the build, and it's a machined alloy. Some of the sites that sell it list it as 30 grams, we've weighed it at 34 grams. Now on the one hand, that is just over double the plastic. On the other though, we're talking 19 grams. That's nothing. The biggest difference though between these two is the cost. And that's probably going to be the most important for many of us out there considering which one to buy. The zip mount specifically, and both of these can be bought from a number of our affiliates that are on our website, a link to which will be towards the end of this video. But the zip one can be found for in the region of £9.95, going up to about £19 UK sterling. You've got to shop around a little bit and there are deals to be had out there. This is a completely different matter. Around about 52, 53, 54 pounds sterling. A quick little look around will tell you that Evans and Treads have it in the 52. Pro Bike Kit, who we have a link to on our website as well, have this at 48 pounds something. Colour matters sometimes in price because this comes in a metallic blue and a metallic red as well as the black, and often they can be a little bit cheaper than the black, presumably because the black is more sought after and people might pay a bit more. So that's a big difference. 50 something pounds sterling, 10 or 12, you make your choice. So if you're really considering buying this piece of kit, and it is a damn good piece of kit, what then are the downsides apart from the cost? Well, I suppose one is the mount point doesn't give you a lot of room for manoeuvre, and it won't mount over bar tape. And I do know some people who like to mount their Garmin mount over a layer of bar tape, and it means you've got, particularly with TT bars, more flexibility as to how close and how far away you mount it. That's one little disadvantage. It probably applies to most mounts anyway. The second, and this is a real picky one, there's not a lot of room in your cockpit when you're doing a TT, and it may be that you want to push your Garmin further forwards. If you are then mounting this on the raised part of your bars, what you're going to get is the Garmin creating more wind resistance. There isn't a rotational element, even a ratchet that gives you 2 or 3 options to actually maneuver your Garmin into a better position. Now, having said all that, I'm not aware of a standard mount that does that anyway. But if you're putting this much engineering into a piece of kit, maybe, just maybe, you could have gone that one step further. And that second one leads directly onto the third potential disadvantage of this mount, but probably not a disadvantage over a number of other mounts anyway. However, if you want hydration in your cockpit, which is pretty tight, the vast majority of hydration that's going to be in your cockpit is going to restrict where you can place this, and you're less likely to be able to see your Garmin. By and large, if you're using a hydration system, you're going to use something like the XLab Torpedo, and that's going to include with it a Garmin mount so that you can integrate everything together. Where this comes into its own is absolute out and out TT riding, where cockpit, Garmin is mounted in, bang on the right place for you, dead easy to see, no problem at all. Perfect. So, rating for this, quality, 10 out of 10. I've got absolutely no complaints about the quality of this piece of kit. It fits well, there's no vibration from the Garmin. I went for a 50-mile bumpy ride the other day, absolutely nothing. It's really well made, solid, and does the job. 10 out of 10 for quality. Innovation, 8 out of 10. How someone else hasn't come with the idea of the turn mount underneath so that it fits in line and tidies up that cockpit, I don't know. But well done, K-Edge. 8 out of 10 though, because I think if you've got that much about you to do that, you could have integrated a little rotation, be it just on a ratchet and 2 or 3 options, that enable you to mount it other than pretty much in the horizontal position. And then finally, value for money. 2 out of 10. I'm sorry, you really are paying over what's required for this piece of kit. I think 50 something pounds UK, 30 something pounds UK, I would have said that's pretty expensive, but it's a mount for the Garmin, and yeah, 50 odd, sorry, K-Edge, it's too expensive. If you've enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you're considering buying either of these computer mounts, the K-Edge, or for that matter, the Zip, or any computer mount for your bars or your TT bars, then our website has a number of links to affiliates where you can buy them and often get a really good deal by going through our link. And of course, everything you buy, Real Life Reviews gets a tiny amount, which helps keep the channel going. So, a link to our website, as well as being down below, is just there. If you haven't yet subscribed, click on the picture here. If you want to have a look at the video on the XLab hydration, which we showed you, up there. And we've also got a video on a neat little multi-tool, the Hexus, just up there. Many thanks for watching.